All right. So when people ask me about Stone tools, the full arsenal behind Project Stone, Wonder Grid, and the entire Stone911.org shield wall, I don't just give them the surface level pitch. I go deep. Because this isn't just software. This is the hardest, most unforgiving fusion of cryptography, distributed systems, real-time critical infrastructure hardening, and incentive transparency I could forge. After years in the trenches as a 9/11 first responder who watched official records get twisted, as a father who saw child welfare systems run on hidden incentives instead of evidence, and as a builder who taught himself post-quantum architecture so that no family ever has to fight ghosts again. If you're an ex-AI level mind head, a cryptographer, a systems engineer, just somebody who wants to open up their brain a little bit, buckle up, because I'm about to break down Stone tools like nobody else has. This is the kind of architecture that makes people say, this guy thinks like he's half alien. It's not hype. It's the result of relentless iteration on real problems, fragile memory, corruptible records, manipulable dispatch systems, and cash flow incentives that destroy lives. At the absolute core sits Wonder Grid, my truth infrastructure. Forget simple blockchain. We're talking about a hybrid distributed ledger that combines quantum resistance Merkle trees with dynamic relational graphs and verifiable computable layers. Every single piece of evidence, a 911 call audio, a CPS intake report, a court filing, a contractor payment ledger, a body cam video, it all enters the system and immediately gets fingerprinted with a hybrid post-quantum hash. I mean, I'm using constructions like SHA 512 plus Blake 3 and defense in depth, layered with lattice-based primitives such as Kyber 1024 or dilithium for signatures. Change 1 bit years from now, and even Grover's algorithm pressure and even the entire Merkle proof chain invalidates instantly. But I didn't just stop at static hashing. WonderGrid builds living context graphs. Individual records become nodes in a massive directed apocalyptic graph, DAG, where the edges of the cryptographic verification links, temporal Merkle proofs, and the cross-reference audit trails. So what happens is this uses the techniques inspired by the ZK Starks, zero knowledge, scalable, transparent argumentables, and knowledge, which are post-quantum secure. They don't require any trusted setups. And they also scale. So you can improve upon your belief by proving this to yourself. You can prove that this document was unaltered and relates to this timeline without revealing any kind of full underlying data. So when you take a look at that, you see this will be proof in itself that the selective disclosure of the via zero knowledge proofs means that a parent can prove my case was modified after submission, while keeping all their sensitive family details private for private contractors not to be able to see, along with different agencies and even private entities. So you got the lattice fold working like folding schemes over the recursive proofs. What that does is it keeps the verification times practical even on massive data sets. And the grid isn't centralized. It's a permission yet decentralized mesh where the independent validators, families, journalists, auditors, and even competing agencies, and they can all participate in consensus using threshold signature schemes and distributed keys generation. No single point of failure. Not one. If one node gets compromised, the rest of the shield wall maintains integrity through redundant Merkle roots and cross-chain. So you got your total proof, evidence before force, family protection freedom, protected by Merkle roots and cross-chain attestations. And I designated and designed this exactly for generational longevity. Records will be verifiable for 50, 100 years and hundreds of years after that. From now on, from any kind of resistance to any kind of both classical and quantum adversaries. Now, we're going to take a look at PulseGate and the intake firewall. So before any state action, before any child welfare removal, before any emergency dispatch escalates, PulseGate enforces cryptographic evidence requirements in real time. Light speed, stone time. Because it's a zero trust gateway layer that demands verifiable inputs. Anonymous tips get cryptographically watermarked and tracked. Every submission creates an immutable event log with freshness values to prevent replay attacks. Integrated with post-quantum digital signatures, it turns he said, she said into provable chains. This is where CANSEC-inspired protocols come in for any underlying transport layers. You got the authentication, encryption, the integrity in the data link level. You got the preventing any kind of injection or tampering in critical comms flows. Now you take a look at my stone counter, and that's the economic transparency engine. It runs on real-time incentive mapping across the Title 4E, Title IVB, Medicaid, and contractor pipelines. Every dollar flow gets logged into WonderGrid with atomic commitments and zero knowledge range proofs so that you can verify totals and relationships without exposing individual. So think of it as a public audit layer on top of private ledgers using techniques like curve trees and quantum resistant accumulators for efficient membership proofs. You can query show me aggregated contractor incentives tied to this region and get ZK proof in seconds. This makes corruption radioactive because the math itself exposes the misalignment and incentives before any child can be ripped out of a parent's arms. The frontline weapon and armor is our CAD shield. That was a stone tool that I released to the public. So computer-aided dispatch just got hardened on truth, because Legacy CAD systems are notorious and vulnerable for encrypted logs, weak access controls, selective deletion capabilities. So CAD Shield wraps them up in a cryptographic accountability shell. Every dispatch event, every unit assignment, every note entered gets hashed into WonderGrid in real time. My system implements hardware-rooted trust with TPMs or secure enclaves, combined with post-quantum key exchange for all internal comms. So basically what that means is, to make it sound a little bit easier to understand, the logging becomes tamper evident with forward secure audit trails. Even if an admin tries to retroactively edit, the Merkle proofs break, and that triggers alerts across the whole Stone network. So for a deeper infrastructure, I layered in the CAN bus security principles adapted for emergency systems. You got the anomaly detection via machine leaning on a traffic pattern inspired by intrusion detection research on CAN networks. Plus a CANSEC style frame, like the authentication for any vehicle or radio integration. This turns the dispatch hardware from a soft target into a harded, into Stone, into a verifiable extension of the grid. The integration with NIM, XML standards, and kind of means that there's you got the IDO for interoperability along with the NIM, XML standards that cause interoperability, which means the different jurisdictions can share verified data without trusting each other's back end, if you know what I mean. So now we're going to take a look at the full Stone tool suite. This includes the replication modules so that any community, state, nation can spin up their own PulseGate instance that participates in the global shield wall, and with the cross-domain verifiable credentials, they become part of it. Privacy is non-negotiable, and advanced ZK snark variants with lattice-based, where needed, ring signatures for anonymous yet accountable reporting, and homomorphic encryption explorations for aggregated analytics without decryption. So I engineered all of this from the ground up. The same environments where 9/11 records got contested, where family court filings vanish, where contractor payments flow without scrutiny, I decided to build a combined symmetric key post quantum signatures, Vertical tree explorations for ultra-efficient proofs, Reed-Solomon proximity testing for a fast verification, and distributed storage with erasure coding for durability. So the result there is a system where evidence has provable integrity, relational context, and temporal resilience all at once. So technically, this is a breakthrough that previous revolutions gave us better laws and better tech, but they never solved the record itself being corruptible. WonderGrid and all of my Stone tools Stone 911, Wonder Grid, Stone tools, and my Project Stone network solve that all of these things can be corrupted at infrastructure level without my tech. Evidence before force isn't just a slogan. It's a cryptographic invariant. Families become validators. Citizens become auditors. History stops disappearing because the grid endures. To the XAI minds, the cryptographers, the builders out there, fork it, attack it, improve it, share it, build it for light, build it for heaven. This architecture is public by design. I built it for God. I built it for moms, for dads, for pets, and for kids. And I built it so we could unite like we did back during 9/11. Because one thing that I remember back then is that we all stood together as one world, united with light, united with God. And with that, the grid endures. Project Stone was never one man's crusade. It's a call to arms for anyone who believes truth infrastructure is the next frontier. We don't just build tools. We build the shield wall that makes the truth leave footprints. Time, power, and greed that can never be erased. Evidence before force. Family, protection, freedom. The grid endures.